Before diving into this story, I want to take a moment to thank you, the reader, for being here. If you find this tale of heartbreak and betrayal as gripping as I hope, please consider subscribing to support more stories like this. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers to keep crafting emotionally charged narratives that resonate deeply. Your support means the world. Now, let's step into the storm. The living room was a battlefield, the air thick with the residue of shouted words. Ethan stood frozen, his hands clenched into fists, as his wife's voice sliced through the haze of their argument. "If you don't want to see me flirting with your friends, stay home, Ethan. I want a real man." Lauren's words hung there, sharp and venomous, her green eyes glinting with something he couldn't name. Defiance, maybe, or something darker. The front door slammed behind her, the echo reverberating through their small suburban house, leaving Ethan alone with the weight of her accusation and the sickening churn in his gut. He sank onto the couch, the fabric worn from years of shared evenings, now feeling like a stranger's. His mind replayed the scene. Lauren in her red dress at Tom's birthday party, laughing too loudly, her hand lingering on Jake's arm, her gaze flicking toward Ethan with a challenge he hadn't understood until now. He'd brushed it off then, chalking it up to her being tipsy, to her need for attention after a rough week at work. But her words tonight weren't a drunken slip. They were a blade, deliberate and cutting. Ethan's chest tightened, a mix of disbelief and dread coiling like smoke. Was she serious? Or was this just another fight, another test of his patience? The next morning, sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, too cheerful for the storm brewing inside him. Lauren was at the counter sipping coffee, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, acting as if last night's fight never happened. "Morning," she said, her tone light, almost playful. Ethan's jaw clenched. He wanted to demand answers, to ask why she'd humiliated him, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead he muttered, "Morning," and grabbed his keys. Work would be his escape, a place to bury the gnawing suspicion that something was deeply wrong. At the office, Ethan's focus splintered. Spreadsheets blurred as memories of Lauren's behavior flooded in. Her late nights at book club, her phone always angled away from him, the way she'd started dressing sharper, like she was auditioning for someone else's life. He shook his head, trying to dismiss the thoughts. She's just stressed, he told himself. They'd been married 7 years, built a life together. 2 miscarriages, a mortgage, countless quiet nights watching old movies. She wouldn't betray that. Would she? That evening, Ethan came home to find Lauren on the couch, texting furiously, her face lit by the phone's glow. "Who's that?" he asked, aiming for casual but hearing the edge in his voice. She didn't look up. "Just Sarah," she said too quickly. Ethan's stomach twisted. Sarah, her coworker, wasn't the type to inspire that kind of focus. He sat beside her, the silence heavy, and noticed her thumb hover over the screen, shielding it. "Everything okay?" he pressed, his voice softer now, searching for the woman he thought he knew. "Yeah, fine," she snapped, standing abruptly. "I'm going to bed." Days bled into weeks, each one layering more doubt onto Ethan's heart. He started noticing things he'd ignored before. A new perfume, sharp and unfamiliar. A receipt for a bar he didn't recognize slipped into her purse. The way she'd lock her phone the second he entered the room. He hated himself for snooping, but one night, while she showered, he grabbed her phone. The passcode, their anniversary, still worked. His hands shook as he opened her messages. There, under Jake, was a thread that made his blood run cold. "Missed you last night. Can't wait for Friday." Ethan's vision blurred. Jake. His best friend since college. The guy who'd been at their wedding, who'd helped them move into this house. He didn't confront her that night. He couldn't. The betrayal was a living thing, clawing at his insides, but he needed proof, something undeniable. He started paying closer attention, noting her late work meetings that coincided with Jake's poker nights. He followed her once, his car idling a block away as she slipped into a dimly lit bar, Jake's arm around her waist. The sight burned itself into Ethan's memory. Her smile, unguarded and radiant, a smile she hadn't given him in months. The confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday, the kind of night that felt like the world was grieving with him. Lauren was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, when Ethan set her phone on the counter. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low, trembling with the effort to stay calm. She froze, her knife hovering over a carrot. About what? She asked, but her eyes betrayed her. They darted to the phone, wide with panic. I saw you with Jake, Ethan said, each word a stone dropping into the silence. I read the texts. How long, Lauren? Her face crumpled, but not with guilt, with anger. You spied on me? She shot back, deflecting. Ethan's voice rose, breaking. Don't turn this on me. You're sleeping with my best friend. The truth hung between them, raw and ugly. Lauren's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, she didn't fight back. It started 6 months ago, she whispered. I didn't mean for it to happen. Ethan's world tilted. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of shared dinners and forced smiles while she carried on with Jake. Why? He choked out, tears burning his eyes. Lauren looked away, her voice barely audible. You stopped seeing me, Ethan. I felt invisible. Jake, he made me feel alive. The words were a punch, stealing his breath. He wanted to scream that he'd been there, that he'd loved her through every loss, every fight, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, he felt the foundation of their life together crumble. The weeks that followed were a blur of pain. Ethan moved out, crashing on a co-worker's couch, haunted by memories of Lauren's laugh, her touch, the life they'd planned. He saw Jake once at a gas station, and the urge to punch him was drowned only by the weight of his own heartbreak. Lauren called, left voicemails begging for forgiveness, but Ethan couldn't hear her over the echo of her betrayal. He filed for divorce, each signature a wound, but also a step toward reclaiming himself. On the day the papers were finalized, Ethan stood outside their old house, now just hers. The rain had stopped, and the air was crisp, carrying the promise of something new. He didn't hate Lauren anymore, not really. He pitied her, trapped in her own choices, while he was free to rebuild. The hurt would linger, but so would the strength he'd found in surviving it. As he walked away, the sunset painted the sky in shades of fire, and Ethan felt, for the first time in months, like he could breathe again. Thank you for reading this story. If it moved you, please consider subscribing to support more narratives that dive deep into the human heart. My goal is 1,000 subscribers to keep these stories coming. Your support fuels this journey.